I'll call this meeting to order. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, the first and only item on this agenda is approval, disapproval of request for proposal number 13/14-2P, community promotions. In other words, a very short meeting. We'll see about that. Okay. What we're doing, this meeting is for the lodger's tax that we've collected over this past year, and the disbursement through our procurement process in getting the products and services that we need to meet the needs of the ordinance. The ordinance I'm talking about is the lodger's tax ordinance, which is authorized by state law, the Lodger's Tax Act, NMSA 1978. The purpose, I'll just read the purpose of this ordinance. The purpose of this article is to impose a tax which will be borne by persons using commercial lodging accommodations, which tax will provide revenues for the purpose of advertising, publicizing, and promoting tourist-related attractions, facilities, and events, and acquiring, establishing, and operating tourist-related facilities, attractions, or transportation systems as authorized in this section. One of the, this ordinance also, it establishes an advisory board. And this board is mandated to go through all of the documents that are received, all the proposals requesting funds. And they use their own processes, which will be discussed here in a little bit, to come up with a recommendation to this council, in which case we will take that recommendation, input from those here to present to us and give public input, and come up with the best way to spend these funds according to this ordinance and what we are allowed to do. It's been a very difficult process in the past, sometimes quite controversial, but in most cases very successful, and we've done a great job of advertising and our community, and hopefully we will continue to do so with the advice of the advisory board. With that being said, would somebody from the advisory board like to present?
I guess that's me, Mike. I didn't know I was going to present. What would you like me to present?
Please talk to me a little bit about, and the council, a little bit about your process, some of the logistics that you use to come up with your recommendation.
Well, we have we do have a evaluation form that we refer to. We found that giving points and stuff just didn't work. It didn't cover us. But what it does is zero us in on the kinds of things we're looking to make sure every application has and addresses these issues. There's also the largest tax proposal application, and there are things in that we look for people to be doing. We look for metrics. We look for what is it that you're doing. We look for a viable organization. We ask for two things. We ask for a budget for the organization, and not like extensive. We just want one that shows that you're viable, that you actually exist and work. And then we ask for something more specific in relationship to whatever it is you're asking for the funding for. How are you going to spend that money? So we look at those things. As you know, we have several people on the board who have lodging, work with lodging establishments, and many times it's somewhat our personal experience. Did people come in on that weekend? Do people come in and attend this event? Do we see? And then we also have other people who are like Mitch, who sees whether he has traffic in his store on a particular weekend. So we use anecdotal as well as numbers as we look at these various applications. And I have to say that over the past 2 years, the applications have become much more professional, much more focused on what we're looking for. In the past, we get a lot of information that we didn't care about and didn't find out the things things that we really cared about. And so now people have gotten much better at doing these. I think a couple of years of practice has put them in that place. So we tend to use both anecdotal and sort of looking at, do we think this event, this whatever, is bringing people into town? And my philosophy is it's not just special events that we want to be focusing on, because if we just fill everybody up for 5 events and 3 nights, that's not enough people to keep us all alive. We need people coming in March through October on a regular basis. And so we need other things happening in town that keep people interested in Silver City. So I think that's mostly what I want to say.
And just to go along with that, the ordinance does say that we're on this 5-member board. We have 2 people in the lodging industry, 2 people from industry, and 1 person at large, and that's what our board is made up of, and I think that it's been a good, hardworking board. Is there any questions on that brief process by anybody? Another thing, I do like that you pointed out the new applications. I know that's been a work in progress, and hopefully staff has been working hard to get a much more user-friendly and practical application. That being said, we have 11 applicants. We do have your the board's suggested amounts. I would like to have those who are present for each group to come up and speak a little bit and articulate your particular applications. The first one is the Silver City Fiber Arts Festival, if there's anybody. And I'm not going to give any time limits on speaking. Is there somebody from the Fort Baird Historic Preservation?
From the Fort Baird, okay. I'm Cecilia Bell from the Fort Baird Historic Preservation Society. And yes, we worked hard on putting together our proposals. Fort Baird is a year-round organization that has tours throughout the year. And for those tours to start at 9:30 in the morning, if somebody wants to go from out of town, they're here in a bed the night before. Now, yes, some of those are campers that are at the KOA or at the Rose Garden or at the Forest Service, but they still come into town and they eat. And they talk about coming to Silver City and they come back. We have tours. We're getting ready for our Fort Baird birthday, which is August 23rd, and we will have family games, we will have birthday cake, books and authors in the morning. And then in the evening, we will have a Chautauqua performance, Molly Brown with Van Ann Moore. Then, the 19th, the 20th, and the 21st of September is Fort Baird Days, a 3-day event with, of course, baseball and the band, the 4th Cavalry Band from over in Tucson, our traditional school, or I will say educational day, because the last 3 years we've had as many grandparents out there as we've had 4th and 5th graders. They come along with the kids. And of course the military ball. Are there any questions?
Councilor Benson?
Thank you, Mayor. I do have some questions on your application. You've placed 3 events, the Fort Baird 148th birthday, the Fort Baird Days, and the shoulder season tours. Yet I didn't, for a total of 3440.
Right, and when we do the advertisement, we often combine the ads all together.
Okay, but I think your tour information is separate, correct?
Right.
And the question I have is, on the tour, I think like little rack cards that have the tours on it, does it say paid in part by Silver City Lodgers Tax on it?
Some of them do, some of them do not. The little tiny ones do not, because we can get those cheap. But the bigger ones, yes, are paid for. And the ad in the newspapers and publications do say that.
Yeah, I did note that the True West ad does not state that. in a
No, we
couple of
paid
the-
out of that last one ourselves, because we had no more lodger's tax money.
Okay, it's difficult from the way you presented it to figure out what was paid out of large tax funds and which were not. And so that's the question I have is, you've requested $500 for the shoulder season tours, but you haven't explained if you're going to be doing these little ones or, how are you going to do the advertising?
We already put in an ad in the Silver City newspaper. We have one ready to go to the El Paso Scene and the Glenwood Gazette. That is a combination of tours, the birthday, and Fort Bear days. And that specifically says that.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions?
Any other questions?
And we always appreciate all of your help and would love your participation. Thank you.
Can I just make a comment? I'm sorry, Ron. One comment that we made, is I don't know if you people ever see our sheet that we submit.
No.
Is we'd love to see a tally of where the guests come from, like, Arizona, Texas. You gave us some sample sheets, but if somebody could just go through and tally up,
Okay.
to just give us a demographic idea, that would be nice too.
I would say last weekend, and I was just sharing with Alex, 4th of July weekend, we had people on Saturday after the parade. We had people on Sunday after the parade. We had people last weekend with 99% being out of town and out of state, which is tremendous.
I often have guests to go over to your...
Right. And they always talk about going to the Holiday Inn with the Rose Garden and to the KOA. You all are great. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a representative from the Copper Country Cruisers?
Hi, I'm Pam Ely, representing the Copper Country Cruisers. Every year we have a great car show, brings in an average of about 155 custom vehicles, a lot from Arizona and Texas, and sometimes from other states, California, Colorado. We do promote the lodger's tax. Every participant gets a T-shirt with a statement on there, and our event starts Friday afternoon and ends Saturday evening. Are there any questions?
No questions? Thank you. Okay, the Members Region Art Council.
Good evening, members of the council and committee. The Members Region Arts Council is an organization that's over 34 years old, and we've been doing annual performance series, folk series, 3 cultural tourism events that are pretty large scale. We do the youth mural program that has become quite a cultural tourism draw in itself, and as well as, serve our local community with youth outreach and partner with many other people in town to help them on their events as well. I think that we concentrate our lodger's tax application mainly on our cultural tourism events, but we do also know that people do come to town for our larger events at the Fine Arts Theater, the new dance events we're doing up at Old James Stadium, and also the youth mural program. We get a lot of calls on that, and so we tried to include all of that in our package. Did you have any questions for me?
Thank you. The Silver City Main Street project.
Hello, I'm Lucy Whitmarsh.
Timothy Brown. We have a request for Silver City Main Street project. It's a general advertising request. A short paragraph promotes our historic downtown district to markets in New Mexico, Arizona, and Texas along our I-10 trading area from Tucson to Arizona to El Paso, Texas. Advertising falls into the two categories: advertising in support of events held downtown, and general advertising promoting the restaurants, hotels, shops, and attractions of our historic downtown. In particular, we are now located in the Murray Ryan Visitor Center, which is a real hub, and Lucy has some photos of our signage, which shows the status of this particular sign. If it's okay, I have a couple prints for each council member to look at. But that sign is faded, and what we would like to do, and this is a part of the general request, we'd like to drive visitors to the visitor center first, because the New Mexico Department of Tourism has done studies that says that when a visitor visits a downtown or an area for the first time, and their visit starts at the visitor center, it's more likely to result in an overnight stay. And we're poised in a very good location as far as we've got parking, we've got pedestrian access past through the big ditch into the historic and arts and cultural district. And what we need to do is upgrade that sign and show that, get people out of their cars and parked in that point. And I think that's all I have to say. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to try to answer them.
Councilor Edison?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor. I have a couple questions. Lucy, in your submittal, one of the things that I noted that was missing was the total cost of the event and the amount of matching funds and the source of matching funds. Those are all blank. So I didn't know how to examine, what you were doing. I understand it's mainly advertising, but there wasn't any total amount, or if there was going to be any matching funds or anything like that. So I can't evaluate when I don't know those figures, and those slots aren't filled out on the form.
During our previous year, we did primarily do advertising, and I did not actually complete the application, so I was not aware that information was missing.
Signed it.
I know.
And it's links there. So, yeah. Okay, that doesn't really answer my question, because I'd like to know what those amounts are so I can evaluate. It appears that this year the request is primarily for advertising once again, if I'm looking at this correctly, and the sign for the visitor center, because you've got 10,000, well, I didn't, the way it's totaled, it's got a total amount for 15,694, 17, so I did not add everything up, but I'm presuming that the total advertising runs at about $10,000 or a little bit over, with $3,000 for the sign for the visitor center. It just isn't clear to me in terms of the presentation if it's all going to be spent in advertising, if anything's going to be spent for events like had been promised the year before, but I don't think it was accomplished. And I have a question regarding the amount for the sign fabrication installation. Is this a quote from someone, or is this something that you just think it's going to cost?
We did some pricing and some market research to come up with the cost.
So there is no standing quote from anyone to see it? Okay. And then one last question. Last year, you were awarded $10,000 and have a remaining balance of $751 that was not used. I guess for me, I need to take that into account, that it all wasn't used. So I just was wondering if there's an explanation for why there was a remainder.
In our budgeting, we didn't correctly allocate when we tried to do our budget for our advertising, we didn't get it correctly allocated, so we didn't get the entire amount spent.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Lisa? Councilor Kano?
Actually, I guess it's more of a statement. If you're going to continue to apply, I would like to see the same thing that they asked of the Fort Bear Preservation Society. You come with a tally of guest sheets, a sheet of where people are coming from, because your objective says significant attendance levels, but what is significant? So if we could see that next time, that would be really helpful.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you, Lucy. Thank you, Tim. Is anybody from the San Vicente Artists?
I got part of them passed out yet, but there's enough for everybody. This is last year and this year, there's a big paragraph giving lodgers tax.
Could you introduce yourself?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Luann Bruton. I'm a board member and the membership and fundraising chairman for San Vicente. And I made out the lodgers tax application with help. So if there's mistakes, I'm sorry. But anyway, so we gave credit. We're asking for money to keep publishing the guide, which is a 32-page full-color guide that we improve every year. We're aiming to give all of the events a place to be listed, so the inside back cover this year, most of the larger events are listed there. So we're trying to bring people to Silver City all year round. Now, San Vicente itself has the Body Beautiful Art Show in the spring. We have the Gila River Landscape Art Show in the fall, and we're trying to honor the Gila River Festival and enlarge it by having that show. And then in November, we have a membership show at IMRAC. We also have a website that's kept up year-round, and in fact, it was just updated to match the new guide. So the guide cost about $5,000 a year, and last year we got $3,000 in lodgers tax, and so we just kept going until we got enough money to put it out. We would really like it if we could at least get $5,000, so we have more money for the shows and website. I don't know, are there any questions?
Councilor Bredesen?
Yeah, so first, I think based on what the mayor stated earlier in the meeting, I think that the only thing, we can't pay for the shows. We can pay for the guide and the website. So that would be, if I'm looking at last year's expenses, because I'm trying to figure this out, it'd be $6,450 is all that's really, $98,000 that you requested would be eligible.
And that's fine.
Okay, so that,
We were, you know, if we could get enough to cover the shows, that's great. Otherwise, I just keep going around town getting sponsors.
well, that's good. So the applicable costs, at least from what I can tell, that we can do is $6,450 rather than $8,000, which is almost the total amount of the budget.
Right.
So one of the things that I noticed is that, and this kind of goes along with some comments that were made from Fort Beard and then also from just most recently Main Street, there's really no data. Your members should be collecting this data and letting us know who's coming in. I mean, in terms of where they're coming from, rather than alluding to the fact that, oh, we have a lot of people coming in. It would be nice to, I mean, I think that would strengthen your proposal, if you have your members, member galleries doing that. And I think the same thing goes with doing your website statistics. They should be included in your proposal. I think it strengthens it. The proposals this year have been really remarkably well done. I think that there's a few improvements that could be made, and yours is one, just in presenting us with the data that we really would like to see, because that's one of the things we make our decisions based on. I think that there's a note from the folks on the Lodgers Tax Board that they might want to say something about. I don't know if any, at least I know, that's my comments for now. Mayor, thank you.
Councilor Kano, did you have a question? Any other questions? Sandra?
Yeah, I'll comment for the largest tax board. We have in the past mentioned to the San Vicente artists that we need more specific data as to how many people they have coming and website information. I also have to say, I'm sorry to say this, but we find that the new guide doesn't have as much information as the old guide. One of the things that I would use this for is when guests came to me, they could find out where they could find jewelry or batik or some other kind of specific art. I could give this to them and they could locate them. The new one has just the names of the galleries, and it doesn't make it clear what kinds of art you can find there. And I think that's a loss. And now it may be because of your restricted funding, and I understand that. But I'm just pointing out that I miss the fact that we don't know what's in specific galleries. As we have so many galleries, it's nice that people can locate the kind of art that they're looking for.
Yeah, we would have had to charge the galleries more to have more space, and what we found is everybody wanted bigger pictures, less words. So we try and react to every suggestions, so we can add that next year and just adjust things. As far as numbers, it's kind of hard to collect, but we can try. When there are 10,000 guides out, you just...
Well, I think, Lorraine, you could even collect the numbers from your shows. You just give us many people came to the show. I think even just 500 people or said 2,000. Yeah. And if you can collect the demographics along the way, where they came from specifically, that would be helpful too. I mean, it would bolster your argument is what it would do.
Okay, well, this coming year we'll try. Thank you.
Also, when you're doing this for the next year, you may want to edit it because there are at least 2 errors on the back page, and those errors could create problems for a tourist that wanted to come here because you have the wrong date on one of them, and one of them, I believe, may no longer even exist. So, thanks.
Okay, well, we tried to get everybody to give us correct information, and,
I'll tell you, one of them was the Minas Regional Arts Council. I'm sure that Ms. McCalmont will give you all the correct information. She's really good about that, so you might want to look at her part.
Okay, I think that's a typo. We had 4 people editing it, and somehow every year something gets by, but we try. Thank you.
Councilor Benson, one second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Luann, I just want to say, I appreciate the submission, and I would reiterate what the Lodgers Tax Board said. I mean, all the folks that are presenting here before us today have, when they have 10,000 people coming to an event like the Arts Council, they manage to collect data. And I think that if you do ask your member galleries, member artists to do that, that will bolster your argument, even at your shows. I think that will help as well. I just think that anything you do put out a sign-up sheet. Doesn't mean everybody does it, but I can tell you that it does work for the institution I work for. And we just politely ask people to sign in because it's important to us. We want to know where you're from, and then we talk with them. So I think that it just really does, support the argument you're making for the funding request.
Okay, well, we will really try. I think all it requires is a form to have sitting there for people to sign.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and then, they can use it for other purposes. If you get their addresses, you can send them invitations to things, so, thank you.
Yes.
Grant County Rolling Stones, is there a representative?
I'm Lee Stockman with Grant County Rolling Stones. We've been producing and holding a gem and mineral show in Silver City for the last 31 years. This will be our 31st year. The last 4 or 5 years, we've had better than 3,000 people come through the door for the 3-day show. We have vendors who come from all over the Southwest and even from Mexico, and a couple of years ago, we had a vendor from China. Vendors stay in motels and RV parks while they're here in town for the show. We also have a lot of local vendors from Silver City and the surrounding communities who contribute to the quality of the materials we have to offer at the show. In the last couple of years, we have been awarded $2,500 in lodger's tax, which we use to advertise the show in local communities, southern part of New Mexico, El Paso, Tucson, and Albuquerque particularly. Last year we did a survey of the persons who came through the door at the show. We asked them to tell us where they came from, where they stayed, and a little bit about themselves. And the result was that just about 50% of our members, of our visitors to the show, come from Grant County. The other 50% come from New Mexico, Texas, and Arizona primarily. Quite a few from California come out for the show. We hope this year to have an even better turnout than we have in the past, and we've been advertising in southern Arizona, Safford, and the other mining communities that attract rockhounds, to see if we can get them to come visit us here in Silver City on Labor Day weekend, when it's much cooler here than it is in large parts of their territory. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Councilor Bedison?
Thank you, Mayor. Lee, I'd just say that this, once again, you've provided an incredible amount of information, the sorts of things that we ask for. I know it's a great event. We have lots of folks that come in. Just one little housekeeping note. The amount of matching, the total cost of the event is, it's interesting when you look at it, because when you look at the amount requested plus the amount of matching funds, your total cost of the event is less than your matching funds plus your request. So kind of like to see that even sometimes, unless, there's an explanation for why that difference. But I understand that the $3,500 is for advertising based on what you've submitted.
Yes, the advertising varies from year to year, and I believe that our matching funds included the lodger's tax awards we had received in the past. So that's why they balance out.
I see. Okay.
The profits that the Rolling Stones recognize from doing the show are used for scholarships at the university here in town, to assist with the presentation of the museum in Socorro doing their mineral symposium in November. We also help with search and rescue. Fortunately, none of our members have ever had to rely on them to bring them back out of the forest, but at the same time, we don't know when that might happen, so we donate funds to organizations here in town that are nonprofit and need help to educate children or to support activities that are related to rock hounding.
I think that's great, and I think that we just want to make sure that for the matching funds, because you're asking for larger tax money, don't include it again. You would want to remove that so that it's sort of even Steven across, if you add that, plus your matching funds, that's going to be the total cost of your event, something like that, because I kind of went, I was just going to make a comment that I'm not sure that search and rescue will bring out the big bag of rocks one of your members might have. They might just leave that there, but I think that's admirable that you do contribute to that in case one of your members gets stuck out there. Thank you.
Silver City Gallery Association, is there, Lee, Sandra.
I just wanted to say you brought up an important point, that along with looking at, does this bring people to town to spend money in lodging and restaurants, we also always look at the presentations as whether it provides something for our Silver City residents. And your 50% shows that you do, and I think that's important too. It shouldn't just be trying to get people in, it's also providing extra things for us to enjoy here. And I appreciate what you do.
We've had people tell us that they started coming to the show with their parents, and now they're coming and bringing their children. So it's become an event that has solidified families, grandparents, and parents and children year after year.
Thank you. Silver City Gallery Association.
I'm Lois Duffy, by the way. First thing I'd like to say is that the Silver City Gallery Association is kind of reorganized this year, and we're now being called the Silver City Art Association. And we did that because we've become more inclusive. We started out as just a gallery association, trying to fill in a void where we felt we needed more advertising. The galleries were kind of hurting the past 5 or 6 years. And then, once we got started, we really mainly, for the first year, we just did advertising. Then after that, we started taking over what used to be the weekend at the galleries that MRAC used to put on every year. So that meant we needed a larger budget, and so we started applying for lodger's tax. And then we also had studios that wanted to have a studio tour, and now we've added individual artists. So we now have 21 galleries, 20 studios, and 20 individual artists. So we've become more inclusive, so we're now the Silver City Art Association. And we also felt that we put on this event on Columbus Day weekend every year, but it seems such a waste to produce these brochures and then they were kind of done for the year. Even though we kept them around because it listed all the galleries, they had a date on them and people tended to not pick them up as much. So we decided to come out with a year-round booklet that is exclusively just galleries, studios, and artists. There's no advertising in it. And it's very comprehensive. The centerfold has a map of out-of-town sites and in-town sites, 2 separate maps. And then it lists the events that will occur on that weekend for a separate page for the studios and a separate page for the galleries. And we feel it's a classy production, good enough to stand up in Santa Fe or Taos or any of the other art cities. And in doing this, we've produced as many as we could. We had 6,000 printed. And of that 6,000, half of them will be going to visitor centers throughout the state. We've been approved by the state to supply these in any of the visitor centers that we choose. We obviously can't do all of them, but we will
producing at least 2,500 that'll be shipped to the visitor centers. And we feel that it's a nice enough publication that people will want to come here. And when they get here, it's really very simple to read, nice, clean-looking, modern, contemporary. And we think this should be the best year we've had so far, and we should be able to bring in more visitors than ever.
Any questions for Lois? Sandra?
I just have a comment. I hope you're going to continue with the art red circles.
Oh, yeah, that's our biggest
Because our tourists really like to see those and follow them around.
That is our biggest marketing tool that we have.
Thank you, Lois. Tour of the Gila.
Hi, I'm Michelle Gills, and Jack could not be here this evening. It's a long-planned vacation with his family, so I'm spokesperson tonight. Thank you all for your previous awards for Tour of the Gila, the town council members, Alex. And we just continue to roll along. We had a successful year this year. We feel that social media is really our biggest marketing tool right now, and we're going to go hard and heavy with that in the coming year. We've already hired a PR firm that's going to help us with that, and we'll be starting in with our fun ride, which is our Gran Fondo in October, our off-season ride, and plans are underway for next year. So I have my proposal here. If you have any questions, I'll try and cover them.
Councilor Bedison.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Of course, it's me, because I read them all the way through, but I know everybody else does too, but I always have questions. So it seems that this year, your expenses have, for the upcoming year, for 2015, have risen exponentially. So I have a couple questions. It looks that you'll be hiring a PR firm?
Yes.
Okay, for $30,000. Are we, and then I think I got confused, because in the description of what the PR firm is supposed to be doing, which also says social media based, you still have $5,000 set aside for live Twitter. Aren't the same people doing that?
As the PR firm?
Yeah.
No. We hire professionals. We had two great professionals here last year, and we would like to bring them back in. This is right on site during the race, in cars, twittering. So it's a little different than the twittering that leads up to the event. So less tourism, it's live twittering of the race.
Live tweeting.
Live tweeting, sorry. You see, I'm not up on this. Successful this year.
You sound exactly like Jay Leno, that's what I thought. I think David Letterman does too. I guess I was trying to, because I think that's actually more than what it was, it seems that their expenses have gone up, their cost has gone up from the year before, which was $1,000, I think I remember.
Yes, we found higher level professionals this year, and so we're bringing them back. We would like to bring them back. We have it in our budget, too.
Thinking I might need to take that up as a professional thing. Let's see, and then I noticed that, so you guys cover the UCI team travel of $111,000?
We have not yet to date.
This is what the projection is for this upcoming year.
What we want to do, our big plans, our big dream and the big goal is introduce a women's UCI event. And in order, the way that UCI events typically work is that they pay travel costs. In the U.S., at our level of UCI race, they've allowed us to do it without having to pay for the men to come here. And there's a general agreement between teams and races just to get more UCI level races in this country. For a women's UCI race, we would need to have some teams here from Europe. So we feel that we would have to introduce that team cost. And yes, we're looking for money to try and do that.
And I know that these aren't all things that the funds that you're requesting from the town would cover, but I'm just kind of curious, do you have sponsors in place to cover this?
Not yet, we're working on that. SRAM, I have to say that SRAM has a definite interest this year of a major increase in sponsorship.
Well, and I'm just trying to balance the fact that for the past several years, the town of Silver City has been a major sponsor, so there's
Yes.
been Silver City Store Dealer, yet we're also giving you a considerable amount in lodger's tax.
Yes.
And I'm trying, things
Which we
are,
appreciate.
as you well know, at the town, because we've been very vocal about the fact that things are squeezing tighter,
Yes.
and they're kind of tight this year in what we're trying to do. So it just concerned me a little bit about the significant increase in whether or not, on top of our contribution through lodger's tax, we would be asked for a major contribution for sponsorship. I'm not sure that will... I'm looking at the town manager right now, who's kind of...
We have not entered into discussions with the town of Silver City yet about 2015.
Yeah. Well, and I just think it's something that we need to balance, given the fact that we have so much in terms of lodger's tax for advertising, and we want to make sure that we're equitable to our community. And I just thought I would bring that up because I get to, I guess.
Fair? Yeah.
Yeah, it's just something that kind of floats in the back of my mind, so.
Right.
But thank you for the presentation, it was very thorough. Everybody's doing a great job. If I haven't said it before, and I didn't say it when you were up there, you're doing a great job. So, thank you, Mayor.
Sandy?
One question, anecdotally, the people who have the downtown businesses felt that we had fewer people downtown this Saturday. And also there were fewer races, so you did a nice job of combining with Main Street and having activities. It was really looked great, but it didn't seem like you get quite as many people.
We were down this year.
Okay.
In racers and spectators, I think.
And then-
It's really hard, of course, with our event, because it's so spread out and over so many days, to count the people on site. Yeah, so we are addressing that. That's where we feel a social media campaign will
Bring more people downtown.
Yeah.
But that's a great day if you can get people.
exactly,
We
in
had
the drive
wonderful
market.
weather. We had wonderful weather this year, so
Yeah.
the same reason for people not to be out.
Except the winds, the first day. Any other questions I can answer? Thank you.
Thank you. The Silver City Arts and Cultural District. George?
Something I said, Alex? I haven't even said anything. Mayor, Councilor, I am George Julian Warren. I'm the Silver City Arts and Cultural District Director. Good evening. I want to thank the town. I'd like to thank the Lodgers Tax Board, and I'd like to thank Alex and Town Manager's Office for their past support of the Silver City Arts and Cultural District and entrusting us with Lodgers Tax funding on behalf of our community. I would also like to, while I'm up here, show an attitude of gratitude to our other major partners who have done a lot for Silver City in behalf of tourism. In particular, I'd like to thank the State of New Mexico Tourism Office. Secretary Jacobson has been extremely supportive of Silver City. They matched us with $20,000 of funding this past year. And I'm hoping that they will continue to support. I trust they will. I also would like to thank our sister arts and cultural districts around the state, of which there are 9 of them now. We partnered with them to the tune of $30,000. We received an additional matching $30,000 from the state for that cooperative marketing effort, specifically promoting festivals and events throughout the state. And I would also like to thank our 39 local private industry partners that bought into our local cooperative advertising initiative that reached out across the state of New Mexico and regionally, and allowed us to expand our advertising campaign really exponentially this past year. In addition, I'd also like to thank, we have many additional partners, but in particular, I would like to thank Grant County Tourism, who we also partner very closely with on advertising and strategic planning, and their tourism board. I would like to thank our advisory tourism board for Silver City Arts and Cultural District, who really helped to guide me along in many of the decisions that we make. And our primary partners who have helped tremendously in terms of support, MRAC and Tour of the Gila. Of course, many thanks to Silver City Main Street, our fiscal agent, and Grant County, Southwest New Mexico Green Chamber of Commerce, our partner this past year and previous years in managing the visitor center. As you all know, the Silver City Arts and Cultural District is a non-membership, non-partisan, collaborative and partnership organization. We are dedicated to sustainable and healthy growth of our local economy, to entrepreneurship and cultural diversity. And our proposed marketing project is designed to increase awareness of Silver City and its many assets, and at the same time maintaining a commitment to the authenticity of who we are, our sense of place, and our quality of life. And as you all know, since you've read the proposal, we are dedicated to continuing our campaign through print and social media and web, collateral distribution, fulfillment through the visitor center, and mailings, billboard advertising, press relations, of which I'm sure all of you know we had a banner year in terms of media attention, from New York Times to True West to Sunset Magazine to Smithsonian.com, Money Magazine, Travel and Leisure, huge coverage from New Mexico Magazine, and I could go on. We've had TV spots, radio in Albuquerque. We were recently highlighted, Yada Yada Yarn, she's knitting right there, highlighted on New Mexico True Television, a new regular Sunday premiere show highlighting things Silver City. They'll be back again. So we had a banner year in terms of the media coverage, and we're looking forward to that continuing. The two areas that are relatively, they're not new, but we're looking to expand this year. One of those is social media marketing and web. All of you know it is the most cost-effective method of reaching the widest audience possible, and it's an area of continued growth for travelers of all ages. We know that in the last 3 to 5 years, significant changes have happened in terms of mobile devices. All of us are carrying them. The tech-savvy traveler, which is, again, a significant number of travelers today, particularly in the demographic that we want, that's educated, financially sound, want to stay for a period of time, are carrying 3 devices now, a laptop, an iPad, and a mobile device, and they use them for distinct purposes in the process of making decisions for their travels. So you see a significant increase in our request, specifically focused on social media marketing. It's something we've also learned from watching Tour of the Gila. We hosted their media center at the Visitor Center Conference Room this past year and previous years, and I'll tell you what, the woman who does the tweeting, it's an incredible art form, and She had 7,000, I'm going to promote Tuahila's work now, but they had 7,000 followers just on the tweeting alone. And she was, it's this. Well, by the way, I'm tweeting this whole presentation to all of you right now, so for those of you who are savvy, you can follow in small bites and bits. But from all of these partners, and everybody in this room has partnered with us, and I thank all of them. We learn from all of them, and we all know that social media and online marketing continues to be a place of growth and outreach. The other area that you see that is pretty new to this proposal is our event marketing. I'm of the belief that if we want others to come to our festivals and events, which is a primary reason for travel these days, we too should be going to their festivals and events. And that's partnership. And so by us in this proposal suggesting that we go to Tucson Rodeo and have a presence there, and Book Festival, and Folk Festival, or their Tour de Tucson, 4th Avenue Street Fair. In Las Cruces, it would be the Country Music Festival. And throughout the state, we have many festivals and events that we could put on our radar for Silver City to have a presence. In that effort, what you see in here, it's a partnership that I'm proposing between the state of New Mexico Tourism, Silver City Arts and Cultural District Tourism, and the local festivals and events. So you can see in this proposal, we're suggesting that we go with our festival and events, say the rodeo, to be present at the rodeo in Tucson, one of the largest rodeo presence or events in the country, and so on. You can see that our partnership is with festivals and events as well. So we promote not only, and so what we're really doing is suggesting that we take like-minded interests and align them from community to community to promote visitation to Silver City, and to go out there and say, come visit us, we'd love to have you. Thank you.
Any questions for George? Sandy?
I just have one comment, George, on those collateral ads that you did. You can be here for lunch. I wish that a piece of that had been actually about Silver City instead of ads, like why people would come to Silver City and not just the collection of ads. It was very nice that everybody cooperated, but there should have been something there that told people what Silver City was about in some way, shape, or form. One of the blocks should have said Silver City, I thought. More general than so specific to the advertisement.
May I comment?
Yep.
Okay. In the proposal that you received, there are 3 spreads that you have here exemplifying that you can be here for lunch advertisement. One of the goals, as you can see on this, was to visually, without words, make a statement about what Silver City has to offer. So in this particular ad that I'm holding up, you can see art, architecture, you can see sport, you can see historic downtown, you can see wilderness, you can see spirit, and you can see food. And if you flip them over, without words, the next one, even though it's different advertising entities, you see art and craftsmanship, you see destination locations, you see art and, again, architecture, you see down here in the corner wilderness, you see family, you see sport, you see historic, etc., etc. So one of the things that we were shooting to do, this was based on Pinterest, which is a very popular online social media format. This is based on Pinterest with the idea that the pictures would tell the story. So I handpicked the images with each advertiser so that every time you open this, without it telling you in words, Silver City has all of these things, and so you'll see that story told again and again, illustrated in images without specifically speaking Silver City. In addition, what we didn't put in this presentation is we've also run a fair amount of those that were specifically calendars of events. And so throughout the state and the region, some of those have been without partnership. Tourism and Lodgers Tax has picked up the full amount, and in those we show Picomania, and we show the gallery tour, the Red Dot Tour, and we show the River Festival, and so forth. So we're also, in some of those, very specifically promoting, oh yes, there is one, thank you for highlighting that. We highlight, you see everybody that's present in this room probably in that ad right there, so.
Actually, I have a comment on that, too.
Okay. I appreciate any effort.
It bothered me, and it's just my sort of way I see things, that they weren't in order.
Yes.
They skipped all over the place.
Yeah.
Because that's, if I was looking to see what was happening, I would want to see this first and second and third.
You're not the first to give us that feedback, and again, I'm always open to suggestion.
And I have another comment. I was noticing that and I'm sorry that we didn't bring this up when we were looking at it, because we think you do a great job, and there's some wonderful things that you're doing, and don't get me wrong. But I noticed that you're going to describe your desired measurements and how you will measure the results. And again, you just name the things you're going to measure, but you don't give us either what they've been or what you're aiming for. And do you have some kind of measurement that you're looking to achieve on number of requests, number of visitors, media coverage, etc.?
Yes, we do. Are you speaking to the metrics that for going forward?
I'm talking about under the proposal, and there was a describe your organization's desired measurements and results, and how you will measure them, and you've got Lodgers Tax, blah, 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 blah. What does that mean?
Right. You're absolutely right. It's an oversight that we didn't include some of these numbers. I'm presenting next week to the town council those final numbers for the year over year. For instance, we gathered from all of the main attractions their numbers for last year and this year to report whether or not we saw increases at the two museums and the cliff dwellings. So we are working with them to collect that kind of data. We've worked very closely with the Green Chamber, who also has been reporting those numbers, and we saw a 14% increase at the visitor center this year. I'll be reporting, I don't want to jump the gun and give all that report, but you're right, some of those numbers were not here because this was, we would have been giving you a, first and second quarter tallies. So literally until today, we didn't have the full year-over-year metrics.
Well, even if you didn't give us the numbers, you could have said, I hope to increase it by 10%. I mean, you could have shown what you hoped your increase would be, even if it wasn't specific numbers, just what you were aiming for.
Okay.
Because it's,
Absolutely.
so big.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you, George.
Thank you.
Gila River Festival. Is there a representative? Allison.
Good evening, Mayor, councilors, committee members. I'm Allison Civic, Executive Director of the Gila Conservation Coalition, and this is our 10th year putting on the Gila River Festival. And this year's theme is celebrating America's first wilderness river. So I'm sure, as many of you know, 2014 is the 90th anniversary of the Gila Wilderness. It's the 50th anniversary of the Wilderness Act. So people are coming from all over the country in October to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the Wilderness Act. So we're kind of plugged in with them in terms of those activities. The Gila River in addition to being New Mexico's last wild or free-flowing river, it's also considered America's first wilderness river. It drains the Gila Wilderness, the first wilderness in the country. And so we'll be focusing on that with our keynote speaker, Dave Foreman, very famous conservationist, wilderness advocate. We'll be doing lots of hikes, guided hikes, birding, bus tours, really to get people into the wilderness as well as along the river. And so our target market, as many of you know, is outdoor recreation enthusiasts and nature lovers. So we're marketing to the region. We every year have people coming from very far away, but mostly the folks that come to the Gila River Festival every year are from Albuquerque, Santa Fe, Tucson, El Paso, Las Cruces. The majority of out-of-town people are from basically the region or in-state. So I think this is a really big year. As George mentioned, New Mexico Magazine's paying a lot of attention to Silver City right now, and for the September issue, they will be featuring the Gila River Festival. So we're very excited about that. We're also advertising in High Country News next week at their big outdoor recreation. There's a big outdoor recreation national conference in Salt Lake City, so they're printing up more High Country News issues, I guess, for that event. We're advertising in that event. We also do a lot of radio. And we know, based on our evaluations, that radio is really working in some of these other markets to bring people to this area. So we're really seeing a lot of benefit from radio. So we've, over the last couple of years, really taken a lot of our media and advertising monies out of print and put it into radio. And I think that's, you mentioned the doing evaluations, that's really, collecting data, that's really where we're getting it from. Evaluations is really, people who come telling us kind of what, how they're hearing about the festival, especially new folks. So that's what we have for this year. Do you have any questions on our proposal?
Any questions? Sandra?
One comment that we made, Allison, about this is that we feel you really need to, as George has said, you go into more email and social media. You send out save the date cards and things like that, and we feel that's no longer where people are at, and you could get more people and you could have a wider audience and less cost. So we'd like to see you move into more of the social media channels, whatever those might be.
Right.
And did you actually give us any kind of demographic report on like where people come from?
We did.
Okay.
So we had about 50%. No,
50.
Well, it was like 5 to 10%. We actually raised our participation rate, so the percentage of that stayed about the same from past years.
Okay.
So it's varied between 50 and 100 people coming from out of town. We know that from registrations for actual field trips or workshops, but we also have other people who are coming who are going to, lectures that you wouldn't necessarily have to register for.
That you wouldn't register for. Right. It's a wonderful thing, and definitely ecotourism is one of the definite waves of the future, so we applaud that. But we do ask that maybe you look into doing a little more social media.
And we do have a Facebook page for the festival, but again, it's like getting Facebook, getting people to discover you on social media. So yes, point well taken. Any other?
Councilor Pedersen?
Thank you, Mayor. And I did see all your information about, in the back here, about your demographics and your event attendance and the potential impact on Silver City lodging. Perhaps next year you can actually talk to the lodging establishments to see if they might let you know how many folks said Gila River Festival, and I would expand that out to KOA and, the other, those sorts of things. And I think that, some sort of a questionnaire or some sort of incentive to go online to fill out a response, at any of your events would be great, because, I think most of those folks are probably camping as well and enjoying the Gila wilderness, enjoying our environment, because it is ecotourism. It'd be nice to capture them, because while they may be camping, they're still spending money in town. And I think that that's just one of those things that would bolster your argument once again. I mean, it just solidifies the request.
So we do keep track of that, so that is we hand out evaluation forms at the end of all the events. Part of it is trying to get people willing to fill it out. But that is one of the options. So we camping versus staying in a motel or rental or with family or whatever. So we can report out on that information.
That would be great. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you, Allison.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for your presentations. As we've seen over... Cecilia, by all means.
We've all worked together, and I really appreciate everyone that's been here. One activity that is not requesting any lodger's tax, but is coming to Silver City the week after Easter for a 3-day event that will be up at Western, is OCTA, which is the Oregon California Trail Association. And we're working with the trail group in Silver City. Many of you do not realize that they're working to make the Butterfield Trail that goes from the east onto San Diego, going through part of Grant County, that they're working to make that a national trail. And we will benefit from that. At the last conference that was out in California last year, there were about 100 people there, which is going to mean more coming to Silver City, and we're really excited about that. And it's the first week after Easter.
Thank you. Alex, what do we have budgeted for allocating on our largest tax?
200,000.
200,000, and that's been set aside and available. And
yes, that's what was proposed in the preliminary budget, and we'll be bringing the final budget to you next week, and we still have that same number in there.
Over the last few years, we've been, the council, when I was a counselor, and I'd like to reiterate as the mayor, we're buying a service here. And as such, we need to make sure, as we're spending our citizens, our community's monies, even within that ordinance that we have, we need to make sure that we're getting the most bang for our buck. This is what's led us to, over time, request more and more metrics, make the process much more objective. And as you have probably seen, the relatively few questions that we've had so far have predominantly been metric driven. So we do want to continue to convey the idea. Please keep preparing those metrics, keep collecting the data, reporting it, and I believe it's going to help us come to some much better conclusions. Also, just to reiterate, the makeup of our advisory board, being 2 lodging specific individuals, 2 industry-specific individuals, and 1 at large, predominantly is to help with the subjective part. There is a lot of subjective issues here. It's one of the reasons why we do need an advisory board. Help us out. Tell us where are we getting the most bang for our buck, because there are times there are no metrics. But we know there are people there. The hotels are full. Gross receipts collections are up. And that is something many of these providers, many of you who have struggled with this fact, can't obtain and can't report. So there is a small part of subjective, and that's why the advisory board is so important, and why I appreciate all the hard work that they've done and put into it. And that being said, Councilor Bedison?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that the council go into executive session pursuant to New Mexico NMSA, I'll just say that, 1978, Section 10-15-1H, for the following reasons. Number 6, that portion of meetings at which a decision concerning purchases in an amount exceeding $2,500 that can be made only from one source, and that portion of the meetings at which contents of competitive sealed proposals solicited pursuant to the Procurement Code 13-1-28 NMSA 1978 are discussed during the contract negotiation process. The actual approval of purchase of the item or final action regarding the selection of a contractor shall be made in open meeting. And I also request move that we first take a short break before going into executive session.
We have a motion and a second for the council to go into executive session pursuant to NMSA 1978, Section 10-15-1H, for the following reasons. Number 6, the portion of a meeting at which a discussion concerning purchases in an amount exceeding $2,500 that can be made only from one source, and that portion of meetings at which the contents of competitive and sealed proposals solicited pursuant to the Procurement Code 13-1-28 NMSA 1978 are discussed during the contract negotiation process. The actual approval of purchase of the item or final action regarding the selection of a contractor shall be made in an open meeting. Following a short recess. Roll call.
Aye.
Councilor Amon Smith. Aye. Councilor Ray.
Aye.
Councilor Kano.
Aye.
Motion carries. We're in executive session following the short break. I call this meeting back to open session. And nothing, we just came back from executive session. Nothing was discussed in that executive session that was not included in the motion, and no action was taken. Roll call to vote to return.
Councilor Bedison.
Aye.
Councilor Amon Smith.
Aye.
Councilor Ray.
Aye.
Councilor Kano.
Aye.
We're back in session. First thing I'd like to do is thank everybody for showing up and reporting. It's always extremely enlightening, and it does help these written reports in determining what we need to do for the town and what's the best thing decisions that can be made. I'd also like to thank the advisory board for all their hard work. Without their recommendations and their articulation and their questions in this public meeting, it would be nearly impossible to come up with any sort of decision. We can't undervalue what they do and what you guys do. Thank you for everything you do. That being said, I do have a couple immaterial changes in my recommendation. I would like to recommend to the council that we, in awarding our largest tax funds, that we give Silver City Fiber Arts Festival $2,000, the Fort Bayard Historic Preservation $2,000, the Copper Country Cruisers $2,000, the Members Region Arts Council $34,000, the Silver City Main Street Project $12,500, with the requirement that you do replace the sign. San Vicente Artist, $4,000. Grant County Rolling Stones, $3,000. The Silver City Arts Association, or Gallery Association as it's written, $3,500. The Tour of the Gila, $30,000. The Silver City Arts and Cultural District, $104,500. the Gila River Festival, $2,500. And I do recommend in the motion to require that each entity receiving an award here provide a summary report to staff and council semi-annually for the periods through September 30 and March 31st. The details of those short summaries can be addressed with staff as to what we are looking for. I'd like to entertain a motion. Councilor Bedison.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve request for proposal 13/14-2P Community Promotions per the recommendations you've read into the record.
Councilor Donovan. We have a motion and a second for approval of request for proposal number 13/14-2P, Community Promotions, as recommended and read into the record. Is there any further discussion?
No, sir.
We have a motion and a second for approval of request for proposal number 13/14-2P, Community Promotions, as recommended by myself and read into the record. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Councilor Bedson.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adjourn.
I second.
We have a motion and a second for adjournment. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned.